High school parties. Good shit. Had a lot of fun at high school parties. People that didn't party in high school, I feel bad for them. Because you missed out on the greatest house parties. I'm 39 now. I've been to some great parties. But as a 39-year-old, I can go to a party at a mansion, someone's mansion. There's cocaine, Molly, a pool, and more alcohol than we could ever drink. But it's still not as fun as being in a house party with like 4 or 5 dudes and like 4 or 5 chicks. Just a house party. Those were the best in high school. Anyone that had a party in high school, like you missed the fuck out. They're the best parties ever. I mean, sometimes you'd have 100 kids there. It'd be insanity. You know, we'd get a hold of kegs from older kids. You know, they'd be like 21 and we'd be like 17. You know, people's older brothers and shit like that, sisters. Losers. Everyone had that group that had those losers that were in their 20s that still would hang out with high schoolers. We get one of them to go get us a beer keg. We used to steal the kegs for because you get them way cheaper if you got the keg. If you don't got a keg, you got to rent the thing, and you got to rent if you don't have that tap. You got to rent that too. Alex Goss, I've talked about him, the kid that stole helped me steal that liquor in high school. He had a tap. I had 2 or 3 friends that had a keg, a tap, and we would be having a house party. We just call him up, like, bro, we need to use your tap, and he would just show up with it, or we'd just go grab it from him. And then to get a keg, we would just pull up behind any big restaurant at night, like Outback Steakhouse, you know, Texas Roadhouse, any big like chain restaurant like that that had alcohol. And at night, there would just be a pile of empty kegs sitting by like the dumpster by the back door. And we just pull up, pop the trunk, throw 1 or 2 in the trunk, and we just drive off, dude. And then we get this keg filled. Bro, it'd be like 80, $120 or something to get that thing filled with Bud Light. A full keg. It was a blast. Doodle's here with me. Peeker's on the couch. Booze in the back. Chilling. But, yeah. I just wanted to know if they heard you commenting. Like, who the hell's that? It's like, it's Doodles. But it was great. Great, you know. Like I said, I think I caught the last generation. I hope people, you know, still party like that. You know, in high school and shit. And I think everyone, if you did party in high school, there's always like a couple of parties that really stick out. Even in adulthood, you know, because those parties, even in like early 20s, are pretty awesome. You know, there's always some parties that really stick out. And I'm going to tell a story about this party. It happened one time in high school back in 2003. And the dude that's in the story, I don't remember his name. So I'm just going to call him Holden, which is just an old Southern name. Um, I honestly don't remember the dude's name. So I'm just going to call this dude Holden. So me and this guy Holden were tight. His family had moved there from Texas. It was somewhere else in the South. It was like Texas or Louisiana, Arkansas. I remember they moved out from the South, but it wasn't like close South. It wasn't like North Carolina or Georgia. It was like the West South, which is like Texas, Arkansas, shit like that. So I don't remember which one it was, but he moved into town. I think of my freshman year, and that's I went to the high school as a freshman. I used to go to a little Christian school before that. And as a freshman, I started going to public school. He moved there as a freshman, so one of the reasons we probably started hanging out because we were both freshmen and didn't know a whole lot of people new to the school. And he's a cool guy, man. And he had some older brothers, so that helped him a lot too at the school because he had like I think 2 older brothers are in the school. So when you're a freshman, you got 2 older brothers at the school. You know that never hurts. And his older brothers are real cool. And then one of his brothers got him a job at this barbecue place. It's Chattanooga. It's like 1,000 barbecue places back then. It's still to this day a bunch of them. Near the South. So he got a job. One of his older brothers worked there. Got him a job there, and I think he started as like a busboy, but pretty quickly got promoted to a server. Because I think now you can still serve if you're under 21. You definitely could back then. You could be a server and be like 16, 17 back then. You know? And so he was a server. I think he was a server. That part of the story doesn't really matter. But this part of the story does matter. This dude Holden was a good looking dude, right? Chicks liked him. I'm, probably a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. He was a solid 8, you know, and chicks liked him. So he was only like 16 or 17 at this barbecue place. These chicks that liked him started hanging out with him, but they were like in their early 20s, right? But, he was hot. So these chicks are like, hey, whatever. I don't care if he's 17. He's like, I want to fuck him. So he started hanging out with these like chicks in their early 20s. We're in high school, so that's fucking cool as shit. To be like a 16, 17-year-old girl, hooking up with a chick, 21, 22. And completely legal. No one in the world would say that's statutory rape. No one would be like, oh, poor Holden. Any cop, even back then or today, would be like, okay, dude. You know what I'm saying? Even if that was my son, I'd be like, ah, dude. I'm not going to ruin some girl's life. Like, yeah. I mean, I literally high five my son. I'd be like, dude, you're hitting that? Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, in front of his mom, I'd be like, oh my God, I will talk to him. I will give him such a talking to. But, dude, when I got to his room, I mean, I would try to hide my joy. I would try to be like, um, you know, I don't think you. I don't know what I would say. I would be so happy. Anyways, I'll try not to slap my knee so much when I'm talking to. I noticed I did that a lot when I was listening to myself. Slaps my knee. Slap my knee a lot when I tell stories. Try not to do this so much when I'm talking here. But let me not get so sidetracked here. So one day Holden comes into school and he was like, I think we were in his car talking. I think we were driving home around his car, and he was like, I think we were talking about drugs, and he was like, "Have you ever like snorted a line?" And I had done a bump of cocaine once before this, and I was like, "Yeah, I've done that." And he's like, "Have you ever seen a drug that they use a light bulb for?" I was like, "A light bulb?" I was like in a movie? I was like, "No, I've never seen like." And he's like, "Hmm." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, I was hanging out with one of the girls at the barbecue place, and she picked me up, and we were hanging out. She's like, 22, 23. He's like in high school, and she's like, hey, let's hang out. They go back to her place, and she's like, hey, you want to get high? And he was like, sure, thinking she's gonna pull out a joint. And he says she like goes over to the light bulb in the ceiling and unscrews it and breaks it. Yeah, it puts like a stem in it. I'm not exactly sure how he described it all because I was a kid in high school. I remember him just describing this, being like, "Why would you do that? Like what?" The way he described it was that they turned this light bulb into a pipe of sorts. I don't remember exactly how he described it, but after she took this light bulb out of the ceiling and broke it, she made it into a pipe. And then he said she put some white stuff in it, and they smoked it. And he was telling me this stuff, and I was just like, "Oh, I don't know if you should have done that." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I should hang out with her anymore." And I was like, "Do you?" He was like, "Do you think that was crack?" I was like, "Oh, maybe." I was like, "Or meth." That's back when that was like the big drug too. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that again with her." I was like, "How did it make you feel?" He's like, "Really hyper." Like, holy shit. But he was like a kid, literally. He just did it, but he never like hung out with her again or did that with her again. But at this barbecue place, um, there were still some like older people he was hanging out with, right? And partly probably because he had older brothers, So if he tagged along to probably these parties, it was like whatever. So one night he gets a call, right? And it's like on a Wednesday. It is a school night. And it must have been winter time because I remember there wasn't a shit ton of leaves on the trees. And but winter time in Tennessee, you just walk out in jeans and t-shirt and you're fine. There's no snow on the ground or anything. It's just like, ooh, look, I can see my breath right now at nighttime. You know, we still just get fucking rip roaring shit face. Nothing changes for Tennessee, especially in southern Tennessee. So Holden gets a phone call and he's like, hey, there's a party I got invited to. So, chicks, beer, it's all the people I work with. So I was like, oh man, like all the 20-year-old something, 20 something year olds, the adults. And he's like, yeah, yeah, do you want to go with me? So I'm like, fuck yeah. That's like a real party. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're in high school. Like, dude, we're going to be like fucking people in their 20s. Like, fuck yeah, dude. So I'm tagging along with him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not cool enough to get invited to this. So I'm like his plus one. So we show up at the party and, we're kids. But, there's like 20 or 30 people. There's like, we pull up and I remember I had this like Buick LeSabre. I actually got it when my grandpa died. It was a supercharged 1993 Buick Park Avenue that had I don't know what it was, a supercharger or a turbocharger. It had one of those in it. Thing could haul ass. It was awesome. I had it for like 6 months before I wrecked it.
Was it manual or
It was automatic. It was auto. It had like dark leather or fake leather seats, whatever they had on the inside.
I know you only see.
No, my dad. The deal was if I had paid for a car, I'm not gonna get the whole car story, but I wrecked it and we only had liability on it, so I didn't. And then I was taking the bus, so I think I graduated high school. No, I was. I literally had to take the bus, so I graduated high school after that. It sucked, but that car was awesome, and it had like a car phone in it. Remember when they had like a car phone? It didn't work. It wasn't hooked up, but it was still just like cool to like be like, look at the phone. And so this house party was like kind of the it wasn't like bumblefuck Chattanooga, Tennessee, but it was just like out kind of on the outskirts. So it was like you pulled up to this house. There was a long driveway, like woods on both sides, and then it opened up, and there was this pretty small house and like a front yard that they trimmed up. But it was just surrounded by woods. So you could be loud, right? So there's like, man, maybe there might have been 40 or 50 people at one point.
Yeah.
And so the way I had to park was all these cars were lined up, and I just had to line up on that driveway with surrounded by woods. And then cars were parked behind me. You know what I'm saying? We're all just in a line.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't leave the party anyways because there's still people behind me. But back then, who gives a shit? Everyone's just partying. And we're all drinking, having fun. It's just a great party. It's just like restaurant people, college students. Cool, right? And then these guys came from across the road. They like heard the party and they were like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And everyone's like, "Oh, we're just having, get together. We're just like hanging out." And these guys were like, "Oh, cool." And they're like, "What? You want to like hang out?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, blah blah." Like they like really hinted they want to hang out. So like they're like, I wasn't there when this conversation happened, but they just told me they're like from across the road. They came over. I saw them like walk over, but I thought the neighbor might know them. but they like started hanging out at the party with us drinking. All right, but these guys weren't like young college students. These guys, there was like 3 or 4 of them. They were white, all 4 of them. They didn't have shirts on, and they had like really, really bad looking prison tattoos all over themselves. Right? The 4 guys, the 4 neighbors, they just kind of invited themselves over to this party. And I could tell he was a high school. These guys are like jail house motherfuckers. Like the way they're talking, the way they're acting, the bad tattoos. It's like these guys have definitely been in jail. Like they're scary, especially for like kids, college students and shit. And so we're just hanging out. Party's going good, but they're cool, right? They're like, we're just drinking, hanging out, and party starts winding down. Probably like midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, but the party starts winding down. People start leaving. And as it started winding down, I don't remember from where, but I heard someone say something about a slashed tire. That someone had sliced their tire. And it was like, what? And they were like, oh, no, it's like popped or something. Someone popped their tire. And then someone else was like, no, no, no. Someone was saying their like tire got sliced. It's like, why would someone's tire got sliced? Like, who would slice someone's tire? So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I just keep partying. Oh, the rain's coming in on this tin roof, so I'm just gonna talk louder. So it was just a big party though. So everyone just keeps doing whatever, drinking, hanging out. But I did hear that at some point during this party. All right, party's winding down, and then all of a sudden, I was inside the house hanging out. There's just like 4 or 5 of us, probably like smoking a bowl. All of a sudden, I hear like screaming everywhere. Men, women, screaming. We go outside, and there is like 5 or 6 fist fights happening. There is multiple fist fights going on. There's like a fist fight to the left of me. There's a fist fight to the head of me. There's a fist fight to the right. There may have been more than 4 or 5 fist fights going on. It's the biggest brawl I've ever seen in my fucking life. Still to this day. There was so many fist fights going on. And I'm a high schooler. You know what I'm saying? I know technically, I was a big kid, but it was like, still, I'm a fucking junior in high school. These are like all men. And I'm just like, fuck me. I looked at Holden, he looks at me, and we're like, holy shit, dude. I mean, guys are just going at it, dude. And then the guy whose house it was, he was like, just like a guy you would see like at a fucking Grateful Dead show. He had like a shitty, scraggly little beard. He looked like Shaggy from Scooby Doo, but he was like 5'4" and like 120 pounds. Right? Everyone's fist fighting. He came out there like in between like 3 fist fights and was like putting his arms up and was like, guys. He had like a Grateful Dead like tie-dye shirt on. He's like, guys, chill, man. Everyone just chill. Dude, someone just went wham and just false cracked the shit out of him. And his head goes spinning and he's out cold. He just hits the ground like a pile of bricks. Just boom. And I'm like looking at Holden. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we got to get the fuck out of here. Right? That's what me and him are doing. Like, we don't even know any of these people. He works with a couple of them. Fuck this. Me and you are getting the fuck out of here. It was like a war zone. Then, one of the fist fights is going on to the left of me. Dude pulls out a fucking knife. Dude, this thing's got it's a fucking buck knife. He pulls out this buck knife, looks at this dude, and is like, you motherfucker, you're dead. He starts chasing this guy. Guy's running around a car. there's a car in between them because there's cars parked on this like lawn. He's running around this car screaming, "Get him! Someone help!" Blah blah. There's still like multiple fist fights going on. This is just one of them. So like people got him against his car. He was chasing the guy around. Like 5 or 6. My dumbass went over and actually helped disarm him, which was stupid as shit. But like 5 or 6 of us pressed him against the car real fast and got the knife from him and like threw it in the woods or something. I don't know what my dumbass actually helped do that. Fuck, that was stupid as shit. So I'm like, I look at Holden. I'm like, dude, we got it. This all happened in 30 seconds. Everything I just described. As soon as this fight, I know, Peekers. What's up? Yes, my love. That's Pika whining about something. Yes, my love. I know. Yes, my Peekers. You want some kisses? So we get the knife from the dude, and like I said, there's still just all these fist fights going on, just everywhere. So I, me and Holden go us back inside this. I remember all the screaming. It was so loud, and there was this girl. She was sitting on the. There was like 2 little steps going into the house, and she was just sitting on the steps, like screaming, crying. Like, and I like went up to her and like grabbed her shoulders and like screamed at her because I had to. It was like on a, we were. It's like it's probably the closest thing I've been to like battle, and like grabbed her shoulders and I was like, "Why are you crying out here?" And she was like, "I said, are you injured? Are you injured?" And she like shook her head no. And I was like, "Get the fuck in the house. Get the fuck." And like I picked her up and like it was like a soldier, like go, like me and Holden. I like got her in the house. I get in the house. There's like 4 or 5 of us in there. Like once I got in there, there was like 3 or 4 other people. I think they were still in there from when this all this happened, or they ran in there to get away from it, like we were doing. Yeah, peekers. We're in the house now, 3 or 4 other people, and we just look out. And I remember I'm like having to scream. We're both having to scream just so we can hear each other. And I'm like, we gotta go. And he's like, fuck yes, we do. So I'm like, I'll go get the car. And he's like, okay. So I like run through these fist fights. These prison guys are fighting these other guys. These guys are fighting them. Like, it's insanity, right? I think they're all fucked up on Xanax and shit. These prison guys that came over, man, they're all. That's what they seemed like they were on, man. This got snapped. Everyone used to be so fucked up on Xanaxes, man. You miss it, mix that with alcohol, it's on. So I'm running in my car. As I'm running towards my car, right? I told you they're all parked in a line. I hear my car alarm going off. I'm like, oh shit. I remember hearing someone say that their tire got slashed. I hope someone didn't slash my tires. So I'm running to my car. Alarm's going off. I walk up to my car. Doors open. Interior light is on. And I look at my car. First thing I look at the tires. Everything's fine. Like I said, all this is still, everyone's still screaming, fighting and shit. But I run up to the car and I'm like, I walk around the car. Everything's fine. I'm like, okay, great. No one sliced my tires. Whatever. So I shut the car door. That's all. So I guess someone ran up and opened my car door. I found out later they had ripped out the cell phone, the car phone that was attached in the middle of the car. Someone had ripped that out. I found out the next day. But at this point, to me, nothing was wrong. So I was like, okay, great. So I shut the car door. And when I shut the car door, the interior light, the car light went off, right? So it's back to just complete black. When it got black, I had not noticed, but in the line of the cars, right behind me was a car parked and standing in the moonlight was this one of the guys. I don't know if he was what party he was in. I don't know if he was one of the prison guys or one of the party people that was just there. And I'll never forget this. It was the trees. It was just this row of cars, and just the trees were on both sides of them. It was wintertime, and the moon was really big. It was, I remember it was like a full moon, and I could just see this dude standing there in the silhouette of him, just pure black, his silhouette. And I saw in his hand he was holding a baseball bat. And as soon as I noticed him, he took the baseball bat and just started smashing the ever living shit out of the car parked right behind mine. My car is like 2 feet from the bumper of that car. And he just goes ape shit on this car. He smashes out all the windows, smashes off the mirrors, smashes off the fucking headlights, the taillights. He's just going in a circle around it, just going wow, 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 like hard as he can, baseball swinging. And I'm just standing there watching him. I'm just like, holy shit. I don't know, Pika, sorry. Pika freaking thinks, she hears me getting loud. She thinks I'm like upset with her, like she tinkles on the floor. So, you're not in trouble, Pumpkin. Come here, let me pause it, reassure her she's not in trouble for tinkling. Just circling it. He does all this in like 20 seconds. And I'm just standing there with my jaw open, just looking at him. And then after he just smashes everything I just described, after taking some wax on the hood and on the roof, on the side, on the doors, all that shit. He did maybe a full minute, 30 seconds. Just anyways, after like 30 seconds of going ape shit on this car, he just stops and looks right at me and goes, "You want a fucking piece of this motherfucker?" He just screams this at me at the top of his lungs. And I'll never forget. I just went, no, I'm just gonna move my car. I just, I got in my car. I can't leave. All these cars are backed up behind me. Plus, ape shit here with his baseball bat. So the only option is I don't want to get my skull fucking caved in. B, I don't want my car to get its ass whooped. So I freaking I fucking the cars are parked behind me in a row like I described earlier. So the only thing I can do is take the car forward. There's enough room that I could get around the cars in front of me. So I drove the car past the two or three that are parked directly in front of me, and I drive through these fist fights. I drive through this guy's front yard. All these fist fights are going on still. I drive through them. I'm looking at him through the window, just driving through this guy's front yard, and I park my car behind the guy's house, just behind it. The grass was mowed. I just parked it there. So I run back in the house, and I like grab Holden. I'm like, dude, we can't get the fuck out. I didn't even tell him about Psycho with the baseball bat. I was like, it's blocked. The cars are blocked. We can't get the fuck out. I moved my car to the back and safe, but we got to get the fuck out of here. And he's like, yes. We just started running through the fucking woods, just blindly running through the woods, running into sticker bushes, vines. We're tripping. We don't give a shit. We don't give a fuck. We're just running as fast as we can through this shit. We're just start going through the woods, right? We can still see the house with the lights on. We're 50 yards from this house. We just started taking off running through the back of it. Through the woods, I could see the road that led up to the driveway. Dude, all of a sudden, like 20 fucking squad cars, the Tennessee squad cars with the blue lights on top, drove by this road going like 90 fucking miles per hour. Just all the lights on, the sirens, just like literally like over a dozen of them. Just we could hear them screeching their tires into the fucking house. We could hear the cops start to yell at them, "What the fuck? Get on the fucking ground, motherfucker!" Like we could hear the cops start yelling at everyone. I mean, obviously, everyone you could not have heard this. Like, it must. How many people must have called and been like, "Dude, people are getting murdered at this fucking house party." You would fucking so like 20 squad cars are there. The blue lights I can see like going through the fucking woods. And me and Holden are just running our asses off. Just like, go, go, fuck. Now it's like cops involved. Jesus, keep running. He calls this girl he was dating. And he's just like, he's like, we had flip phones. Just like when flip phones were like getting popular enough, high schoolers had them. And he calls his girlfriend and is like, ah! Like we're running through the woods. He's like out of, we're running. He's like, we're at this party. Shit went down. Ah, we need evacuated. Like Charlie Delta, foo bar, foo bar. Like, and she's like, I'm on the way, and she like just tells her mom like, dude, they need a ride. Shit, and like this chick just like got in a car with her mom and they just drove straight to us. It was like midnight or whatever, but she was like just a cool mom. She's like, "Hi, Holden's a good kid. Like, whatever, I'll go. Let's go." And they just drove and like the mom was calling us. The girlfriend was calling us on the phone and like, "Where are you guys?" Like we told them in the area. We're hiding in some bushes. Like, what? All these cops. There's cops everywhere. Like, that's why you gotta. So like we were having to wait till because we were trying to hide because the cops were just going up and down this road. I guess looking for other people that ran. And so we're just waiting in the bushes, until we finally saw a car that looked like it wasn't a cop. And we're like, "Dude, you can flash your lights." And they like flashed. And we're like, "Okay, that's you." And we like got out of the bushes and they saw us and they pulled up and they're like, "Get in, get in." God damn. Her mom's awesome. It was all in the South. She's like, "Holy fuck, there's cops everywhere. Get the fuck in here." Like, and like we just got in the car, and her mom was just cool as shit. She was like laughing. She's like, "God damn, what the fuck?" She's like, she could see me and Holden like, or we were like, like, oh, our clothes are torn from like sticker bushes and shit. She's like, "God damn, boy, what the fuck y'all get into?" We're just like, "Holy shit, man!" And then I fucking we went to school the next day. Like we get home, I think we're doing the excuse. I was sleeping at his house. He's sleeping at my house. I think that's another reason we hung out too. Is because our parents didn't know each other from any church or growing up together. So we could just be like, "No, it's cool." So that was another advantage of our friendship. So I think I was pulling I'm sleeping at his house, and he told his parents he was sleeping at my house. And I think we slept on the floor of like his girlfriend's mom's her parents' house. I don't even remember, honestly. May slept at his house, my house. I don't remember. But remember, I went to school the next day. I didn't have my car. My car is still at the party. So I just remember I got to school and me and Holden were like, I remember I saw one of my friends in the hall. He was like, "Hey, how'd that party you and Holden went to?" I was like, "Holy fuck, man. Jesus Christ. Dude, there was this guy with a bat and knife and fucking cut." And he was like, "Holy, Jesus fuck, dude. Like, calm down. What the hell are you talking about?" Like, Holden saw him in the hallway too. We started telling him the story. And he's like, "Jesus fuck, dude. I'm glad I didn't go." And then, so after school, I was like, "Dude, Holden, I gotta go get my car, man. Can you give me a ride?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." So he gave me a ride out there, and I think everyone was in jail. I don't remember talking to the homeowner. We just went there directly after school. I thought my car was gonna be torched, towed. I didn't know what the fuck. I thought it'd be smashed to pieces or towed by the cops. And I pull up. All the cars are gone. Every car is there. It's gone. Everything that was in the driveway is just gone. So I was like, "Oh my god!" They like took all the cars, and dude that owned the house wasn't even there. Not owned, rented probably, but he wasn't even there. No one was there at that place. I went to the back, and there was my car. just sitting there, cherry, fine. And I was like, holy shit. And got out. I was afraid I was going to get stuck in the, yard because Tennessee's got so much mud. I was just like, oh, please don't get stuck. And did get stuck. The dude just drove home, man. And it was like maybe a day or two later, I noticed the like phone was ripped out. It was just like the part with the cord. Like the main little box part in the middle console was like, or on the floor was still there. Which kind of sucked. I like that thing. But I was just grateful that it didn't get shoved up my fucking ass by that fucking guy with the bat. Damn, that was fun. And shit, well, I'm just gonna tell this other story too, real fast. This other one's a lot shorter, but and Holden's a good guy. I know he moved somewhere, got a good job, wife and kids, all that good shit. He ended up doing really cool with his life. He didn't become a drug addict and shit like a lot of my other guys I grew up with. So that was a happy ending with us. He went on to, good shit. Both of us had happy endings. But this next story, this goes back to years after. This story is only about 5 years ago when I was like 32, 33. I'll talk about these road trips a lot, but I went on 2 road trips um, doing stand up for on the mainland for like 3, 4 months at a time each time. It's like 2 months each time. And I was doing that before COVID. I wanted to do like each year, and then COVID happened, and then we got a fucking piece of shit president, and everyone's fucked right now. So hopefully, when Trump, our Lord and Savior, saves us, I'll be better. But when I went to these road trips, my brother was with me a lot. I'm definitely gonna talk about him a lot. But the road trips we did, both road trips we did in a Honda Odyssey that we named Millie. It was red. Um, it was solid, man. We had a good mechanic. We grew up in Tennessee that ran it through. And he was like, dude, it don't look pretty. It don't sound pretty, but it's solid, man. You should do pretty good. These fucking old Hondas hold up pretty well. And he was right. I remember people telling us it wouldn't make it out of the state. Dude, that car, that van, drove across the country 5 or 6 times. East to west coast, it did it at least 4 times. And it drive vertically from like the south, like Atlanta, all the way up to like Maine and back. So it was, the thing ruled. It went over the mountains. It covered in tumbleweed, thistles, and spray paint. I spray painted this awesome stiletto on the side of it that this artist in Houston made a stencil of. I was like, oh, I gotta spray paint that on the side. It was sick. And we just collect like nuts and shit from over the country and shit. It was just so fun, man. And at certain points though on the road, my brother would go work. He does Doctors Without Borders. At least at that time he was, and other things. So he was off doing that. I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but I was by myself on the road at this point. So when I was on the road back then, I always would kick it with Scotty Peterson, who was the greatest comic in like Houston. He died in a tragic car accident just a couple years ago. But talk about that guy too. But I'll talk about him more later. But for this story, you know, I was just sleeping in this van, and the van, we had the back seats out, and we put down some plywood and shit in the back because the back wasn't even. So once we took the seats out, we put in some plywood, and we kind of Portuguese style did it, so it was level, flat, but it was plywood, and then we put a bunch of blankets and shit in there. So we would take turns sleeping in the back. One person would sleep shotgun, The other person sleep in the back. And unless you were sick, if you're sick, you just got to sleep in the back, which would happen sometimes. Hungover or cold, flu, whatever the fuck. So I was by myself in the van, so I could just sleep in the back. So this night, I had been doing shows at this place called the Secret Group, which is this fucking awesome club in Houston. It's fucking amazing. It's still there. Love the fuck out of this place. But this night, I wasn't on any shows. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and I can get shit faced tonight. Because when you perform, or at least you try to when you perform, you try not to get too drunk. So this night, I'm not performing. I can actually go get drunk and have fun and hang out with everyone. So, as a good comic on the road, you just buy a bottle of cheap liquor and, drink a shit ton of that and then go inside and nurse a beer or hopefully you can get a free beer with from doing shows or something. That way you don't got to pay for drinks and shit. Because what you got to do as a comic. But the thing is, when you do that, when you're trying to do the calculation of, I need to take this much alcohol to last me 2 hours in there, I don't want to, you sometimes drink a little too much. So I polished off quite a bit of this cheap bottle of rum. So I was in there hanging out with everyone. And I didn't do anything bad, embarrassing, but I felt that I was a little drunk. I was starting to slur my speech a little, starting to sit in a stool, a little too, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm acting drunk. It's time for me to call it a night. No one said anything to me. I just on my own was like, I'm too drunk. Before I embarrass myself, I'm gonna call it a night. So I like say bye to everyone there. And you're like, oh, you're heading off? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna go, man. I'll see you guys like tomorrow. So I just go back to the van because I'm drunk. Don't want to embarrass myself. So I'm walking back to the van. Or I walk back to the van. The van is like 2 blocks from where I'm staying. And I get to the van and I'm going to sleep. So I got a sleeping bag in there and shit. It's underneath this tree by this railroad tracks. It's not in a parking lot or anything. There's no other cars by me. You see buildings off in the distance, but there's nothing close near me that, you know what I'm saying? There's a fence, big tree, shade tree. I'm resting under the day, during the day so I don't get too hot. Railroad tracks, right? Kind of desolate. So, live in a van, you gotta masturbate sometimes, especially if you're drunk. You gotta do what you gotta do. So, I'm in the van and I'm like, hey, you're gonna run out. Okay? So, I'm in there underneath my like sleeping bag and shit, furiously masturbating. Okay? And as I'm masturbating in my van, it's dark out and shit. Gotta do what you gotta do. I'm in there laying down, so of course no one can see me under blankets. It's pitch dark outside. You guys got it, right? No perv shit here, but we are people with needs. As I am masturbating in my van, someone rocks my van. I feel someone standing outside my van push it. Like a big guy that's about the size of me, put both hands on it and rock it like they're a big grizzly bear. And I'm like, oh God, holy shit. You know, 2 or 3 things rush through my mind. Is A, this is like someone that knows I'm masturbating in here and thinks I'm some sort of pervert and is gonna drag me out of my van and beat the shit out of me because they think I'm like some sort of pervert. You know? And then B, I think, oh God, is this like a cop that is going to try to say I'm some sort of pervert? Or C, is this like some crazy gang in Houston that thinks I'm like a homeless piece of shit, just wants to beat me up or something? I think that too. Maybe they just think I'm a homeless guy in his van. They just want to, they don't like my kind around here. They just want to fucking, kick my ass and get me the fuck out of town. So I quit masturbating. I'm laying there under the blanket. I'm just like, oh God. I quit moving, obviously. I'm just like, holy shit. Just don't move. Don't move. And they rock it again really hard. I'm just laying there. I'm like, oh shit. And these rocks happen. It's like rock, one Mississippi, two Mississippi. Second rock happened. Then a third rock happens. Guys rocking my van. The third time it rocks, I hear tires squealing, like a car tire going, whee, spinning out on cement. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? The rocking continues. I peek out from underneath the sleeping bag and blanket, and I see that there's headlights on right behind the van. There's a car behind me with its headlights on, and they are ramming the ever living shit out of my van. They are ramming my van with a car, a little like Honda. So I put on pants and underwear, and I like get out of my car, my van. I don't even have a shirt on. I don't have shoes on. Just literally put on underwear and my pants, and I get out of my van, and these guys, I guess, were parked behind me and were trying to get out of the parking spot, but they couldn't. Their front of their car was just hitting my van, and they were not correcting it and just backing up and then trying again and just continually ramming my van. So I get out, I look at them, and when they see me, they stop. And I'm like, oh, hey guys. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm just like, oh, hey guys, can you like maybe stop running into my car van here? And they're like super polite. It's like these two like Houston like Mexican guys, and they like look like guys in their early 20s or like high schoolers, and they're like they have like little tattoos, like a little mustache, like they like little like how they little Chicano little gangster guys, and they're like, oh man, sorry man, and I'm like, no, it's all good, and they're like, oh don't call the cops, man. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna call the cops, man. That's all good, and they're like, "Oh, are you like homeless?" I'm like, "Well, no, not really. Like, I actually like live in Hawaii, but like, I'm like out there, but that doesn't matter. I guess like I'm visiting Houston. I'm traveling." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "Don't call the cops." They keep saying that. I'm like, "I'm not gonna call the cops, dude." Like, I looked at the van; it was fine. Like, they were just doing it so slowly that it didn't do any damage to the van. Like, it knocked the you can see like where it knocked dust off. You can see like that, but no damage to the bumper, no crack, no nothing. Because they were just going up to it and like rocking it. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna call the cops. There's no damage. I remember saying that. I was like, hey, dude, no harm, no foul, man. Hey, just have a good one and just drive careful. Because I could tell they were drunk. They're like, oh. And I was like, hey, I was just like, hey, I'm drunk too. But, I'm not driving. But I was like, hey, hey, it's Friday night, man. It's all good. Just have fun. And then they said, do you like Coke? And I was like, what? And they're like, do you like cocaine? And I was like, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I've done Coke before. And they go, okay. Dude, they held up a ball of Coke. It was the size of a softball. I've never seen this much Coke in my life. I've still to this day, I've never seen anything close to that. Most I've ever seen in my life is a gram or two, which a gram or two would be like your pinky nails worth of cocaine. This was a softball size. And they just hold this thing up. And I'm like, holy God, holy shit. That's a lot of fucking cocaine. And then he pulls out a stiletto, like a switchblade, and he goes, I don't know how you get a stiletto. I think you literally have to buy cocaine wholesale to get a stiletto. He takes out a stiletto and goes, sticks it into this giant softball of cocaine, and just holds it up to my nose. Like, I don't even know how much cocaine on the end of this knife. Like, a lot. He was not like doing a little key bump. It was like bro, this is a big boy Scarface hit. You know, he held it up to me, and I snorted it, and it was just like, bam, like holy shit, real Texas Houston cocaine, not like this watered down shit you get in other parts of the country. It's like straight from the fucking cartel. Best coke I ever had in my life. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. I'm like that fucking guy in Blow. I'm like, I can't feel my face. And I'm just like, holy shit. He immediately just sticks a knife back into it, holds it up to my other nostril. He's like, here you go, here you go. I'm like, okay. Snort some more. Immediately sticks it in there again, holds it up. And I'm like, are you sure, dude? And he's like, yeah, man, come on. I'm like, okay. I think I did 3 or 4 of those. And I'm like, dude, I'm good. I'm good. He's like, you good, man? And I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm good. And he's like, okay. And they just pull off. Whoa, just flooring it into the night. If I'd been smart, I would have asked for some in a bag. If I'd been really smart, I would have asked for their number and be like, we need to be a connection. But that all happened in like 2 minutes. And they just drove off. So I'm like, holy shit. That's wow, okay. I gotta finish masturbating. So I get back in the van, finish masturbating, have a glorious orgasm. So now I'm like wide awake. I'm like, hey, I think I'll go back to the bar. Says I'm wide awake. I didn't feel drunk after that, all that good cocaine. I didn't feel drunk at all anymore. So I was like, I'm gonna go back to the secret group, go hang out with everyone. So I go back, but I don't got no money. Like I said, I take some more hits from the bottle, but I'm in there, and I'm at this point on the road. I'm trying to figure out how to get like money for like gas to get to the next gig and shit. Like I'd probably have like $10 to my name. So I'm trying to do day labor there in Texas and shit like that. But I was like, I need some money. Gigs aren't paying shit like they're supposed to, and um, we get there, and there's this comic I know. She's cool, and she goes, "Hey," because before I left Hawaii, I had a buddy that had some good weed he grew, and he mailed me like an ounce or two of this really good Hawaii Puna crib. So I had this in the car with me in Texas, and I was smoking a lot with people and shit, smoking people up and shit. So this female comic, when I got back to the secret group, I was hanging out there for like another hour, all yacked up and shit, and she like pulls me to the side and she goes, "Hey, do you got any weed you're trying to sell?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah, I need to sell some because I need some money. Why? You want to buy some?" And she goes, "Well, no, it's not for me, but these guys just came and they asked if they know anyone that's got any weed for sale." So I'm like, "Yeah, dude." And she was like, "Is it any good? Because the weed in Texas is bullshit. This is bad weed. Really good coke, really bad weed." And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "This is really good weed." I was like, "This is the best. You way better than any shit you get here, man. This is fucking the best. It's the best fucking weed." And she was like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you want to meet them and sell it?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah. Where the fuck are they?" I'm all coked up. I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah. Where the fuck are they? Let's fucking sell some drugs to some strangers. Let's go here. Just did some coke with strangers. Let's do this." And so she takes me outside and she's like, "Hey, these are guys. Hey, dudes, this guy's he's got some weed for you." And she takes off. And it's these 3 black guys, 3 like giant black guys. They're like 40, 40, and one looks like he's 60. And the guy that looks like he's 60 looks like a pimp. And they're like, "You got weed?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Is it on you?" I was like, "No, it's in my van." They're like, "Where's your van?" I'm like, "It's like literally 2 blocks up the road." And they're like, "All right, let's go." Dude, I'm like, "What, we're gonna walk up?" And like, "No, man." They point to a limo. Dude, there's a limo. I didn't even notice this thing. There's a fucking giant limo parked right in front of us. And fucking chauffeur there opens a door for us. And I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, God damn. So we get in. And I'm like, I've never been in a limo. It's the only time I've been in a limo still to this day in my life. So I'm like, damn, guys. Like, limo, huh? And they're like, yeah. And, like I said, the car was probably like 4 blocks down the road. But because it's a limo, we could have just like flip a bitch right there in the road. The guy had to fucking make some big turns to like get around to where my car was because it's a limo. It's hard to, what I'm saying? So we had a minute to talk. And at first we were just kind of quiet. But then they were like, what are you? I was like, well, I'm a comic. I actually live in Hawaii. So they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, you guys live here? And they're like, no. I was like, where are you guys from? And they're like from, I think, Ohio or Buffalo. And he was like, no, I run. I was like, are you what, a football player or something? I was like, what do you do? And he's like, because he's a really big guy. I was like, are you a football player? And he was like, no, I run. I install air conditioning. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I own an air conditioning business, and it does well. So this is my like best friend, or is his brother, or his best friend or his brother. And he's like, this is my dad, and we flew in just to party, and we're catching the like Buffalo Bills game versus the fucking Houston Texans tomorrow. So we just fucking are partying. We got this limo. We're just hitting the clubs. We just want some fucking weed, man. And dude, no one here's got any fucking weed. And I was like, dude, tell me about it. So he's like, well, how much do you want? And I was like, well, I gotta fucking give him Texas prices, not Puna prices. So I was like, 250 an ounce. So they're like, yeah. I was like, yeah, yeah. They were happy because that's like a good deal for them. So I'm like, hell yes. So we get back and they're like, I gotta see it though. Yeah, I was like, yeah, of course, dude. But these guys are in a limo. They're thinking I'm a sketchy little guy. They're thinking I'm just gonna run off their money. But it's like you guys are in a limo. I don't think you're gonna like, run off of me. So we just pull up to the van, go in there, get the jar. I come out, and I know this shit's killer. So I just show them, like, there you go, man. I think it was in 2 different jars. So I knew like 1 ounce was already in this jar. I hadn't even like opened yet. And I was like, dude, there you go. Open that up and smell it. And he opened it up. And he was like, oh, yeah. He pulled out a nug. He smelled it. He showed it to the other guys. And they're like, hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Then that really big smile. Then they were really happy. And then, we dapped each other up. They threw me the 250. And they're like, fuck yeah, man. I was like, hell yeah, man. Thank you. And then, yeah, that was a great night, man. So then, yeah, that got me some money to fucking get onto the road. I think from there I went up to Denver. But that is some more stories for another time. Fucking check me out, y'all. Fuck promos. Fuck advertisements.